Hello, Align fam, and welcome to another episode of the Solo series. And as we see more and more people wake up and evolve, naturally misaligned relationships will expire. And it could be misaligned relationships through romantic, it could be for friendship, so personal reasons, or even professional reasons. And so we're seeing a lot of heartbreak. And if you think about it, heart is just where you process your emotions. So when you feel the pain, you're going to feel it in your heart. So heartbreak can be really applied to anytime you're processing pain. It's not just only for romantic relationships, right? Studies has also shown that heartbreak actually can be more painful than physical pain. Obviously, really, really important topic. So, how do we actually process heartbreak normally? Well, as humans, we tend to power through it, right? We'll numb the cells, we'll distract ourselves. We won't ever give ourselves the full time to process it and grieve it and give that relationship the time and respect for ourselves to really process what went down and also give it the grieving energy that it deserves. Yet the only way to heal is to feel. You can't drink your way through it. You can't eat your way through it. You can't party your way through it. You can't numb your way through it, right? Yet at the same time, as humans, we're hardwired to avoid pain, especially emotional pain. We would rather literally self sabotage our lives, consciously or subconsciously, inflict pain onto others or ourselves, sometimes before we even process these emotions. But the only way to really heal pain is to feel it. So today we're going to discuss healing heartbreak and building anew. Specifically, we're going to cover one, the benefits of healing heartbreak, two, healthy, productive ways to cope and to process, three, and most importantly, is now with the blank, shiny new canvas, how are we going to create anew? So let's dive in and let's talk about the benefits of heartbreak, right? Um, uh, I am definitely historically been very notorious for pushing forward, right? When something bad happens, I don't want to dwell on it. I want to move on. You know, life is just so beautiful and like God knows how long we have on this earth. So I never wanted to waste literally a moment being upset or sad, right? But if you don't process, and I've learned from my experience, therefore, it's also encouraged me to go in the deep end and research and helping coaching my clients through this. When you don't heal and process the pain, there's a lot of negative side effects, right? So, what exactly happens, right? What happens when you don't give your emotions the energy, the attention that it's dying for you to give? You get physically sick. A lot of times people get sick from stress, sick from being mentally exhausted. You get anxiety. You can't focus. You don't fully feel engaged with life. You feel like you're just kind of half there, omnipresent. You self sabotage future good relationships for you because what happens is how you're deeply feeling, which is unprocessed, unhealed, is not aligned with the mask you're putting on. So you're not really showing up fully to kind of maintain or even build these good new relationships. You hurt the people that you love and that love you. And I want to be clear, the biggest issue with people ruining relationships is just holding on to the past, not processing it, and just projecting it onto your lover because people that you love, you expect them to be there with you through thick and thin, right? You also attract the wrong opportunities and people because again, you're not, you're kind of like omnipresent, right? You're not really aligned with who you truly are. And you actually never really move on when you don't process it because you still have this trigger. So when someone mentions the name of the person that hurt you, your body shivers. You literally immediately get sent back to the feelings of, pain and anger and sadness because you never really let it go, right? Or you may even convert because pain's so hard to process. You convert all this energy into anger. And guess what? Anger only hurts you, hurts no one else. So I want to be clear. I'm definitely not someone who wants to dwell on the negativity and I want to just process and move on, but it's extremely important for those exact reasons, to really process these emotions so you can release them, right? The only way to heal is to feel. And, a lot of obviously logical people, very left brain people, people who, are very ambitious, they think, well, if I'm logically over this relationship or over the situation, I must just naturally be able to move on. Your emotions don't talk logic. Your emotions don't care about logic. Your emotions just want to be seen and be heard, right? So just because you think you logically moved on doesn't mean you've actually emotionally processed it, right? And the thing about purity of our heart is our heart just loves. It doesn't really care about all the bad things that have gone down. It doesn't always realize how much you've already been through. Your heart just loves and it's so pure. So you got to give your emotions time to kind of catch up what you logically want or you logically want to build for yourself. And we also naturally hold on to the good memories and we kind of overemphasize with rose colored glasses the past. So you really need to give your emotions time and energy to be seen and heard. And the good thing is that emotions are fleeting, right? They come and they go. You are not your feelings, right? You are feeling sad. You're not a sad person. So these emotions will go away once you let them be seen. And, you know, big thing is society tends to deem vulnerability as weakness, especially for men. Like, don't show your emotions, toughen up, be strong, like, don't cry. But the strongest and most courageous thing you can do is to be vulnerable. In fact, your inability to be vulnerable is actually a weakness. It's the other way around. It actually takes courage to be vulnerable. Why? Vulnerability is a mix of uncertainty, a mix of risk, and being truly seen, naked for who you really are. And it obviously takes courage for all that. So, something to keep in mind that, being vulnerable is actually the bravest thing you can do. And being vulnerable to yourself and owning it and feeling those emotions. That is takes so much strength to do that. That's why it's easy to do all the other things like self-sabotaging and hurting others before you go out and feel this pain. The biggest thing to remember is what you resist persists. What you're resisting from processing, you're going to continue keeping on with you. When you don't process something, you're actually still holding on to the issue. So keep that in mind. And I think it's super important that if you don't own your own story, you can't write your next chapter and you can't write the ending that you want, right? If you don't own your story, you're going to be subconsciously controlled by it and controlled by the past. So for all those reasons, it's extremely important for us to heal and process our heartbreak, right? So these are the benefits of actually processing it. Let's kind of dive into healthy, productive ways to actually process your heartbreak. First thing I want to highlight is so important. Be kind to yourself. When you're not a narcissist, you tend to blame yourself for the relationship. You call it a failure. You label. You're so nasty to yourself. You need to talk to someone like as if you're talking to someone that you love. If someone you loved, your best friend, your daughter, your son, your mom was going through a heartbreak, what would you say to her? Those are the things and those are the words that you need to actually tell yourself, right? And I mentioned this earlier. Feelings, thankfully, are fleeting, right? They come and they go. Watch them like an observer. Like just you see a good emotion come in, you let it go out. You see good emotion coming, bad emotion coming, you let it go out. It's kind of like when a ball's thrown at you, right? It's very natural for us to just want to, well, most of us just want to catch it, but you don't have to catch every ball that's thrown at you. You don't have to catch every feeling and hold on to it, right? Be choosy about how long you hold on to the ball or even whether or not you want to catch it, but just be observant of these feelings coming in. And I want to share 5, practical, productive ways or exercises for you to process. So I think first is echoing what I mentioned earlier is I want you to write down a list of I'm feeling and everything raw. Write it out. Writing out is better, but like if you're like me, I'd prefer to type it out because it's faster. Write it out, type it out, put down everything that you're feeling. Okay. Then I want you to, underneath that or next to that, write I am, right? So I am feeling, and then I am, right? Why is this important? I can be feeling sad, depressed, angry, hurt, but I am. What is my essence? I am kind. I am love. I'm a creator of my life. I am worthy of my dream relationship. These are two different things, right? The left side is temporary, is current. It's just releasing. The right side is permanent. It's your essence, who you truly are. And this exercise helps you remind yourself the fleeting nature of feelings, but the permanence, well, while you're still alive, the permanence of you. Who are you of your essence? What you have not lost, what you continue to be through this heartbreak and after this heartbreak, right? That's the first exercise. Secondly is I want you to write out everything you're grateful for that person that broke your heart and that relationship. Everything you're grateful for, what you've learned from it, how you can do better when you're filtering for your next relationship or the next professional relationship or next friendship, and how you can show up better, how you can improve and show up better in your next relationship. It takes two people in a relationship. It takes two hands to cause a clap, right? You always contribute something to the relationship. It could be something as simple as you let people walk over your boundaries. That's something you're going to have stronger boundaries going forward. It could be you overextended your stay. You stayed in that relationship for too long. It could be you never vocalized how you really felt. There's so many things that you could do better, right? Be very honest with yourself. It's not a blame game. The only person that's going to read this is you, right? So be very honest with yourself of how you could do better in your next relationship. Third exercise is I want you to write a letter to the person that broke your heart. And I want you to put all your feelings on there, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything you've ever wanted to say that you either didn't have the courage to, or it's just completely done. You don't want to open up the Pandora box again. Everything you want this person to deeply understand and feel. I want you to write it all out. And then I want you to either tear it up or burn it. I want you, when you burn or tear it up, turn it into a ceremony. And as you're tearing or burning, you're literally watching yourself release them and release the heartbreak as it's burning, as you're ripping this up. This is so, so powerful. And if you're burning it or even ripping it, I want you to imagine yourself like a phoenix as there's ashes being created, that you see this phoenix, which is you, rising. And you thinking about what you want to create next and what you want to do next and the energy you want to put out next, right? So make it into a ceremony of burning down all the things and releasing it as you make room for the new. And as you make room for the new, the fourth exercise is I want you to write in detail your dream relationship, the dream next team you want to be part of, the dream friendship you want to call it, right? I want you to write out this list in detail. And I want you to also focus on only what you want, what you deserve, right? Turn to positive. For example, instead of saying, I don't want someone that's selfish, say, I want a person that's considerate and generous. The thing is, your brain, and when you're manifesting, can't really do negatives, right? Also, when you do negatives, you're still focusing on it, right? You're like, I don't want a playboy. You're still focusing on the fact there's a playboy. Why don't you say, I want a committed guy. I want a loyal man. You just have to turn it to the positive, and I want to focus on something. And I just want to highlight Esther Perel, who's a sex therapist, a relationship coach, amazing woman, studied a lot of topics that most people historically never really talked about. Like she was way decades beyond everyone else about cheating, about shame, about all the kind of the dark sides of love that everyone experiences we don't ever talk about. One thing she's always mentioned is you can have many beautiful love stories. You can have a love story for a month, a week, a night, right? You can fall in love and have those feelings many, many times in your lifetime, right? But there's probably going to be one, maybe two if you're lucky, maybe three, maybe people that you can actually build a life story with. And when you're writing out this dream list and this relationship list, think about what are the things, the qualities that would be great for a love story that could be quite, transient, not long lasting. But what are the non-negotiables that you actually want and you were looking for like a life partner, right? And a life story. Something to keep in mind if that's what you're looking for, a life partner. And then last thing is doing affirmations work. For example, for those of you new to it, affirmation is when you wake up in the morning before you go to bed or whenever you just need a little bit of boost of confidence, say things like, I am worthy of my dream relationship. I am calling him my dream woman. I am living a beautiful life with my dream woman. I will be. It's just, you're calling this person in and it's reminding yourself and kind of helping your nervous system kind of cool down a bit and get more excited for what's going to come and what you're calling it. So affirmations work. Meditating works like medicine, works like wonder. Yoga, body work, kind of releasing the tension in your chakras is also really helpful. So these are the 5 things that I suggested as an exercise to help you kind of process and heal. And I want to highlight something. Sometimes, and then a great scenario, when you're ending a relationship, it doesn't have to necessarily be heartbreaking, right? It's not always traumatic, but we still need to process, right? Otherwise, you create a blueprint because if this is what you've known and you haven't processed what you like, what you didn't like, what worked, what didn't work, and what you're grateful for that person, but what you want to call it next, if you don't do that work, you're going to just be like, okay, well, this is what a relationship's like. I'm going to just end up dating someone who's literally the exact same replica of my ex. And you'll keep repeating this relationship cycle. So again, it could be as simple as realizing I overstayed in that relationship. I stayed 2 years too long. And just processing that. So when you are out there dating, looking for your next suitor, you're more mindful of this lesson learned. So you don't do it again, right? So again, processing is important. Even if your heart's not breaking open, it's important to do the work. So you actually are very intentional what you're calling in and what you want going forward. Now, with a blank, shiny, bright canvas, what do you want to call in? What do you want to build anew, right? So few things I want everyone just to keep in mind and keep your heart open, right? When someone breaks your heart, it's very natural for us to want to close our hearts, right? Be like, oh, screw this, screw that, screw everybody. Okay. The issue is when you close your heart, you're closing yourself. Sure, you might protect yourself from bad things or, going through that simple heartbreak again. But then you're also closing yourself to love. You're closing yourself to opportunities. When you close yourself from the bad, you're actually closing yourself from the good, right? The other thing is when someone breaks your heart and you turn into a cold person, you become the person that hurt you. You become the exact thing that you didn't want to be. So why would you want to be a replica of the heartbreaker, right? You need to actually open your heart bigger and wider to people, but then just be more discerning on who you actually want to let fully in, right? That's something to keep in mind. And also, you can't always control what happens to you in life, but you can 100% control your reactions. And your reaction is 100% your responsibility. And your reaction is literally how you're going to create your life. So take that responsibility, take that power. You are a creator of whatever you do with this, right? Are you going to let this heartbreak make you or break you? It's really a choice. A few other mindsets I want to bring in is with heartbreak, we tend to view it as a loss. Like we're losing someone, we're losing this thing. Actually, you're gaining. What are you gaining? You're gaining all this free time, all this mental capacity, all this like extra time to love and do something else, right? So what is the thing that you always want to do that you never had time to? What are the people that you've always want to spend time with, but you've never had the time because you were so focused on this relationship or this friendship or this job, right? What are the places that you want to go? You literally opened up more room and space in your life. Why don't you fill it with the things that you've always want to do, people that you always want to be around, right? So remind yourself all this kind of space and this freedom, this blank canvas that you actually now gained. You didn't lose anything. Because if it was really right, you wouldn't have lost in the first place. So it's not a loss. And always rejection when things don't work out is either redirection or protection. That's it. Things are always working out for you. It may not seem that way, but how many times when something bad happens to you and then a couple of weeks, months, maybe years down the line, you look back and you're like, oh my God, thank God that happened. Like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. I wouldn't have met this person if it wasn't for that. I wouldn't be in this career if it wasn't for that. I wouldn't have been, been so abundant, making this much more wealth if it wasn't for that. Things always work out. You just have to be grateful for the moment. And when you have the time to reflect, when the light bulb hits you, look back and be like, oh no, obviously that had to happen because otherwise all these good things could have come in, right? Keep that in mind. I really want to share a beautiful video that I saw on Instagram, and I was like, wow, this is literally the greatest depiction of life. There was a jar, like a glass jar, and there's water in it, right? Water represents the goodness of life, and the jar is life, and then the water is like the good stuff in life, the things that you want, right? Then bad things happen. Soil gets thrown in, okay, dumped into this jar. And a lot of times our natural reaction, because we want to avoid pain, especially emotional pain, and we're wired to focus on the negative to keep us alive, whether or not the danger is actually real, like a lion's chasing us back in caveman days, or it's made up fear and thoughts in our mind that are not even, it's not even going to happen, or we just make it up in our heads, right? And these bad things happen to us, right? What do? We want to spend all this energy taking this negative stuff. We focus on the negative stuff. We take a spoon and we try to take out all this gunk and this soil out. I want to take out the bad, right? But you'll never fully get out all the bad if you're constantly just trying to fork it out, right? There's always going to be ripples of the soil in there, deep in the jar, right? Instead, what you could do is you can actually create more goodness and bring in more goodness and bring in good memories and new memories into your life. What is that? Pouring more water into your jar so it overflows and it dilutes the soil. And over time, the soil is going to be gone because there's so much water, there's so much goodness in your life. There's going to be none of this negative stuff left. That is what we're focusing on, building anew, creating. And what does that mean? Focusing on what you want to build, right? Have a healthier, and the thing is, we grow and we move on with forward motion, right? So how can you grow? Is there a better wellness routine, a mindset routine, a spiritual routine? Are there things that you could do for your career? Are there things that you could do for your relationships? Are there new places that you should go to meet potential suitors? What are the good things that you can do to kind of elevate yourself, elevate your confidence, build new skill sets, grow yourself? That's going to help you move on. And honestly, you're not going to necessarily forget the past, but it's just not going to be your forefront. And you're going to process it because there's so much more goodness for you to look forward to. I love that example. And I always ask people, like, do you really want to constantly relive in the past? Because your body can't tell a difference between you currently going through the heartbreak versus when you're living through it. You're thinking, it's all in your mind and your emotions, right? Every time you think about it, every time you keep going back there, you're reliving it, right? So do you want to keep reliving a heartbreak, or would you rather spend time building anew and creating new memories and creating a new chapter? The choice is yours, right? And I wanted to highlight this beautiful YouTube video. It's a word poem, and it's called "The Only Reason We're Alive." And I don't want to tell you the full story, but essentially, it's a love story about an 85-year-old couple who meets in their love journey, right? And there's this powerful line at the end that goes, "The only reason we're alive is love, and none of us should wait until we're 85." And every time I watch that video, I bawl into tears. Why do I share that? When you meet the right person, you're never going to have enough time. Like, it will literally feel like you're never going to have enough time, right? When you're truly deeply in love. Think about the times you've been in love, right? It's like time just flies with that person, right? So wouldn't you want to spend the time and energy building anew, finding that person, finding that friendship, finding that right job, that career, where you just feel like you're just so overflowing with love and joy and passion that like there's just never enough time with them? Why don't we spend the energy on finding that and building that than our past, but after we processed it, right? So just to kind of wrap up our healing heartbreak and give a summary of what we covered today. Healing and heartbreak, it could be romantic, friendship, professional, super important, because that's the way that you can fully move on, build anew, and not have any gunk left over, right? And today we've covered 3 key things. One is, what are the benefits of healing a heartbreak? 2 is healthy, productive ways to actually process the heartbreak. And 3 is, now with a shinier blank canvas, how are we going to build anew? So I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys, try these exercises. Let me know how it works for you. And let's heal and start loving again. Thanks, guys.